All right, so let's start with the big story that we are tracking on WION at this hour. The 8th round of negotiations to try and salvage the Iranian nuclear deal has begun in Iran. And the negotiators are trying their very best to try and save this landmark Iranian nuclear deal. But the diplomats have warned that there are some serious difficulties ahead in the negotiations. Now, the effort is seeking to try and bring the United States of America back into the Iranian nuclear deal after the Americans, remember, unilaterally decided to violate and walk out of the pact in 2018. Now, the Iranian nuclear deal also curtails Iran's nuclear activities, which were stepped up in response to America's violation of the nuclear deal, where Donald Trump had imposed crippling sanctions after he decided to walk out of the deal. The EU diplomat Enrique Moria, who is chairing the talks, said that all sides are showing a pretty clear will to work towards the successful end of this round of negotiations. But the diplomats have warned that the deal would in fact become obsolete within a span of a few weeks if Iran continues to step up its nuclear activities. Iran has reported some progress in the talks, but the European diplomats have warned that they are rapidly reaching the end of the road.
Bring the JCPOA back to life means, again, JCPOA means sanctions lifting from the United States and nuclear commitments from Iran. And this is what we are working. Any other speculation on other possibilities is not something that is now here on the table. Here on the table, the only thing we have is how to negotiate a text that will include practical steps from Iran and from the United States to go back to full compliance.
Iran has also refused to meet directly with the American officials, meaning that other parties must shuttle between the two sides. The United States has repeatedly expressed frustration at this format, saying that this is actually slowing down the process. Remember, Americans were the ones to in fact violate the deal to begin with. Western officials still suspect that Iran is simply biding its time. Diplomats have warned that time is running out to try and restore the deal, and the decision to resume discussions between Christmas and New Year has been made due to a sense of urgency to try and get back to compliance to the deal.
There is a sense of urgency in all delegations that this negotiation has to be finished in a relative reasonable period of time. Again, I wouldn't put limits, but we are talking about weeks, not about months.
Now, the talks to salvage the 2015 agreement restarted in the month of November. The 7th round of talks ended 10 days ago after adding some new Iranian demands to the working text. The Western powers said that the progress is in fact pretty slow, adding that negotiators had weeks, not months, left before the 2015 deal becomes pretty much meaningless. But Tehran is focused on one side of the original bargain. Iran has maintained a pretty hard line, and it has said that the Americans also need to be consistent in their negotiations. Now, Iran has said that the onus to try and get this deal back on track is on the Americans, where they have to lift the crippling sanctions that the Americans imposed under Donald Trump as a part of his maximum pressure strategy. Now, Iran also wants guarantees that the Americans will return to the fold and will remain consistent, irrespective of the president who's sitting in the White House. Iran has insisted that the United States and its allies promise to allow it to export its crude oil. Now, speaking in Tehran ahead of the talks' resumption, the Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian has said that Iran wants the talks to focus on its sanctions-hit oil industry. The aim is to try and get to the point where Iranian oil is being sold easily and without any barriers, and its money arrives into Iranian bank accounts. Now, Iran wants to be able to fully enjoy the economic concessions under the nuclear deal. This is the stated position of the Iranians. Now, since the American withdrawal, Iran has steadily also abandoned all of the Accord's limits. It is now enriching uranium to a purity of about 60%, which is said to be a short technical step from the 90% weapons-grade uranium that is needed to make an atomic weapon. However, Iran has insisted that there cannot be a policy of nuclear apartheid. It has said that it is pursuing its nuclear program only to develop and generate electricity, and its nuclear program is a very peaceful one. However, some of these Western nations believe that Iran simply should not have any kind of nuclear technology. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.